Hello and welcome to the interview on France 24. My guest is Gary Shapiro, is the CEO of the Consumer Technology Association. Thank you very much for being with us here at the theater in Bordeaux in France. You are actually the CEO of the Consumer Technology Association, but you're also an author of the New York Times best-selling book Ninja Innovation, the 10 Killer Strategies of the World's Most Successful Businesses. And you also wrote The Comeback, How Innovation Will Restore the American Dream. The Consumer Technology Association represents over 2,000 American technology companies, 80% of which are small businesses. Each year you organize an event in Las Vegas called the CES, and all the companies actually gather there for several days, and you expect this year 100,000 people. This year will focus on medical services, drone regulation, cybersecurity, and government innovation. Less shiny new things, Gary Shapiro, but more digital products which impact our lives. Why?
Why? Because these products are fundamentally changing our lives. Not only our entertainment, our education, our health, our physical fitness. We know when we're sick, it's changing agriculture. It's changing how we move around. And think about it, all comes down to one thing, and that is that smartphones today have many different sensors in them, and they're sold all around the world. And those sensors could look at the temperature, your location, humidity, all sorts of information that they can gather. And very smart people are putting them together and creating new useful services and devices and technology. And it's the same type of information which is going to get us around in driverless cars in the future. It's going to help us with robotics. It's going to have drones overhead and so many other things. So
there's a huge potential in healthcare, you were saying, but how do you protect privacy in that case?
Well, privacy is, of course, very important. We just went through a very vocal battle in the United States over whether the federal government could force Apple to open up and create new software to violate the privacy on an iPhone. There's a very important different interest, and this has to be discussed, and there has to be a dialogue. But people who have these products expect that they were private. Everything in your life is now in your device. And you have a right to privacy there. But at the same time, the government has a right to get the bad people, and they want to use every tool they can. So we have to balance that.
The French tech actually has been there. Emmanuel Macron, the Minister of Economy, was there last year. What do you think of the French tech? Is it meaningful to you?
Well, Minister Emmanuel Macron, in my view, has taken on phenomenal leadership. One of the books I wrote, I talked about the fact that France has so much going for it in innovation because it is sensual, it has fashion, it has perfume and food, and it uses every sense, more than any other country in the world. But France has a problem of bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a French word. So is entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a French word. So the question, and what I've seen a big shift in France in just the last few years is, can you take that creativity and innovation and imagination and sensual nature and shift it to something to create new products? And France is doing that. We had over 100 companies.
You think France is doing this?
Absolutely. So there are major companies, of course, like Parrot, which have been in the CES and showing their drone technology for a while. But now what we're seeing is many, many, many other companies. And it's just not from one area of France. It's from all different regions of France. I've visited incubators. I've seen over 100 French companies invent really great, interesting things using locational technology.
You're very optimistic talking about France.
Well, because I believe in France. I think France has a great future if the government does the right thing. I've seen some hiccups. For example, France has not embraced Uber. There is a new technology, a new way of doing business, and the taxi cab drivers are stopping a service that consumers really want. And there's this myth that somehow if you take from one, if something new creates, you're just taking from one. No, the sum is bigger. Everyone benefits. So I think France could get over the bureaucracy in the old ways. France has so many things that are in its favor, including the French people, the sensuality, the creativity, the innovation. And so many English words are actually French words. Many of our food words, many of our military words.
Entrepreneur, you're right, is a French word.
Absolutely.
So talking about America, one study actually shows, it's a study from Bank of America, and shows that half of the jobs in the US could be replaced by robots in the next 20 years. What's your take on this?
Well, that's just one speculative study. They're throwing a dart at the board. The truth is, yes, many jobs will change.
You don't think this is true?
I think it's true that many jobs are right now in the process of transformation, but we have a huge shortage in developed countries of people who can analyze data. There's a huge shortage of information security, cybersecurity analysts. Literally, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of jobs open today in the United States and elsewhere for people with certain skills. I think the challenges that the United States and many other developed countries have faced is that we are very promiscuous in how we educate people. If they want to go to school and they want to study art history, they can go study art history, they get free school or free loans and things like that. But those skills are not very marketable skills. You need skills for the next century, and the next century is going to totally different set of skills. You know what else
So you need to change education, that's what
we
you
need to
mean?
change education, we need to change how we think. But think about what's going to happen when there's driverless cars. Will we need people who are drivers? Will we need people who are fixing cars that are broken and collision repair shops and tow truck drivers? No, but on the other hand, we'll save literally millions of lives a year, and that's a vision worth fighting for. And yes, jobs will change, but there'll be other jobs that will come up. That's been true since we moved away from farms, because we all had to work on farms just to live. And then it was true when we got rid of horses, in a sense, of the
So you
horse-drawn
disagree
carriage.
with Robert Gordon, the American economist, who actually says that the US has entered a new age of stagnation?
I think it depends how you measure it. See, a lot of these economists, including some socialists, what they do is they say, oh, there's this great income inequality, there's all these things. What they don't measure, they just measure income. What they don't measure are all the benefits, the changes in technology, the fact that almost everyone now in the developed world has their own smartphone, their own tablet, they have internet access. They
It's
have a
just the
range
beginning of this revolution, you
Oh,
think?
we're at the beginning of the road. We're just crawling, and we have so far to go. We're talking about travel in space. We're talking about drones and 3D printing and 3D printing making bodily parts. And we are going into a whole new world very quickly. And you could say, oh, it's stagnation, but we're living better. We're living longer. And even the poorest people are
And
living
jobs
longer.
will be created. That's
Jobs,
what you think.
if jobs are not created, more time will be created for people. So people like you and me may spend more time in the arts and on culture and theater, or travel, and that's a good thing.
The Go game grandmaster Lee Sedol, as you know, was beaten 4 times upon 5 by the machine AlphaGo 2 weeks ago in South Korea. Were you surprised?
I was surprised it took so long to do it. I mean, I played a lot of chess growing up, and I competed, and I still don't do very well against the computer in chess. I mean, the truth is
The Go game is different.
the Go
It's
game
a
is
bit
more complex.
difficult.
I'm not smart enough. I don't know how Go is played, but I've played bridge and other things. The bottom line is, why not? Why shouldn't a computer figure out all the angles? I mean, but yet people still play poker and other card games all around the world. It's not going to take away the
You're
enjoyment
not afraid
of
of
playing
this.
games.
When you hear Professor Stephen Hawking, the scientist, he warns that robots and machines with artificial intelligence could actually one day mean the end of us all. That's what he said.
That's absurd. It's just crazy. I think the truth is that I believe in Isaac Asimov's law of robots. They are how we program them, and they will never do harm to humans unless they're programmed to do harm to humans. It depends what you ask them to do. They
So
are
it
our
depends on
servants.
the human beings behind the machine.
So the fact that I am here today is because I was able to last night get on an airplane and fly here. That was a machine that was built, and people said, oh, the sky is falling. Airplanes shouldn't fly in the sky. Every new technology that comes along are Luddites who say, this is terrible, that's terrible. But yet our lives have got, we no longer live an average of 29 years old.
We don't need frontiers, barriers, ethical barriers.
There are, of course there's ethical barriers. Every time something comes along in medicine and health and transportation and education, we should have very public discussions to talk about what is right and what is wrong. And that's important for society to do. That's what civilized societies do, and we should do that.
What's your take on the American election campaign? How do you explain the Donald Trump phenomenon?
The same way I would explain the Le Pen phenomenon. It's a phenomena where people who see the worst in people and want to cut down on communication and always fear something rather than welcome are ones often without a lot of education, without a lot of even looking into issues. And yet Donald Trump has not even won the majority of even primary voters in one state in the United States
Do you think
as
he
of this
could
date.
be the next president?
He could be. It's not likely, but he could be. It's more likely him than me, but it is something that it's possible, but that's what voters will determine. I will personally not support him.
You
I
actually
think
supported Marco Rubio.
I supported Marco
Why
Rubio.
do you think, he lost so easily?
I think he was very young. He needs some more experience. But he was an optimistic. He had a vision of things getting better because of technology. He was in favor of Uber. He was focused on the fact that this technology in this world we're entering. He's the only candidate of all the Democrats and Republicans who's willing to talk about technology and what will happen. He was in favor of so many good things that are out there, and there are, whether it's 3D printing or robots or drones or better agriculture. We're going to feed people around the world. We're going to save lives. People will live longer. And
That's not Donald Trump's speech, of course.
That is not Donald Trump's speech. Donald Trump's speech is the opposite of that. It's
last
fear,
question?
and it's the thing about Donald Trump, he doesn't even take time to learn about issues. He just talks. He's a TV star. He had a best-selling TV program, a top-rated program for many years, and he became famous. And people like his fame and his very simple fourth-grade answers.
And it's dangerous. Or
and
not.
his hair.
Bernie Sanders challenges Hillary Clinton. Can you explain it too?
Well, I think Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump are appealing to the same type of people. There are people who fear other countries. They fear trade. They think that there's a better way, and they can't do math. They don't understand that you can't just tax 92% of people and give everyone free education and free everything else. That if you tax,
Bernie's speech is about inequalities, which are a reality in the
well,
U.S.
I disagree with that. There is inequality, but it's reducing because of technology. The studies that are done in the popular media, all they talk about is income. Income does not include all the benefits. It doesn't include the fact that we have smartphones and access to computers and broadband, that we're eating, we're living, we're safer, we're healthier. This inequality talk is just a creature of media. Of course there's more inequality. In the United States there's a lot of inequality because there's a lot of billionaires being created by the free market. Those billionaires, most of them like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett, are giving their money to charities around the world and doing more good than any government is doing. So give me that type of inequality where private people could help other people anytime. I'd rather private people spend that money than the government.
Thank you, Gary Shapiro.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for watching, and stay with us on France 24.